The biggest takeaway for Tennessee football so far in fall camp? It's none of the players.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's a good Tuesday morning. This is Locked On Vols, and I'm your host, Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys for being here, making us a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. We're going to get into your mailbag questions coming up in the final segment of the show. Got a couple of those in here today, so I do appreciate that. Ryan Sylvia stopped by. We're going to chat with him in segments 1 and 2, basically on what we've learned and what we hope to learn so far in fall camp. A lot of defensive conversations in segment 1. A lot of Derek Owings conversations in segment 1 as well, because again, that is the biggest impact so far for Tennessee football is the Derek Owings effect. We'll explain that. We'll get into the quarterbacks coming up in segment number 2. All that and more here on a Tuesday Locked On Vols. Tennessee football hitting the practice field to begin week number 2 this morning. They'll practice Wednesday, off day Thursday, practice Friday, and they'll scrimmage on Saturday. And we'll be here with you every single step of the way to tell you what we know about the quarterback battle and everything else right here on Locked On Vols. Let's get into our conversation with Ryan Sylvia of Rocky Top Insider. Week 1 of Tennessee football camp is in the books. Any massive takeaways from you? Like, what have you learned so far in the 3 practices we've been able to see?
It's a good question because, I think everyone instantly wants to hear about the quarterbacks, rightfully so. You have a quarterback battle going on, but it's not like we get to see too much when we get to the open periods of practice. So even if a guy has a day where, hey, maybe he sailed a couple throws that we saw, like that's just essentially warm-ups for them. Yeah. So you don't really get a full picture of it from a quarterback perspective, but you do get to see a couple different position groups and maybe see some guys that frankly look a lot bigger now that Derek Owings is in town and things like that. I think the tight end room's one of those. Like, I don't think anyone expected Luka Wolf to be a guy that we're talking about potentially playing snaps this year, but he's huge and he looks comfortable. And you talk to Alec Abel and he seems confident that he's a guy that could be in the mix there. So just different pieces like that. Like Nathan Robinson's a guy that, of course, he played last year on the defensive line for Tennessee, but he just looks like a guy that's taking another step in the right direction. Trey Poteet's another name that I've thought has looked good from a kind of athleticism standpoint. Maybe doesn't look a lot bigger, but he's playing cornerback, so you don't necessarily need to be huge like Joel Wyatt is out there working with the cornerbacks.
And he's not a normal-looking cornerback type deal.
No, that's a guy who could be filling in to help out Leo now that Chaz Coleman's not on the team, but instead they got him repping at cornerback, which says a lot about his athleticism. So I think that's kind of the big takeaway. I guess a roundabout answer to that is just what Derek Owings has done to get some of these guys bigger and stronger and faster. And Bruce Feldman put out the freaks list this morning, just a bunch of guys that would be candidates to make that list.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I've said this on the radio last week and on this pod, like every time the first week or so, the first couple of practices of spring or fall camp, it's always, oh, this guy looks great. They just look different. Like, because again, our eyes are not trained to know what these guys look like. They've been working for the last 6-7 months. And we haven't seen them a lot of times. So like, yeah, you can see the physical progress, but also, newcomers, new numbers, like we're just not trained to be like, oh, that's Ethan Utley 17 last year. Like, oh, that's Nathan Robinson 19 this year. But it does feel like this offseason is different. And maybe it's because D.O., you've heard so much about him, the investment that was there, the national recognition for Derek Owings, but also I think him, teasing it, putting it out on social media. Hey, like, here's the group of the biggest gainers over the offseason in terms of lean mass. Here's the biggest speedsters in terms of who's running over for 21 miles an hour. Like, I feel like that has something to do with it for sure. But, I've been saying it too, just like you said, this team, it does look different, as we borrow a saying that we say every single fall camp.
Yeah, I think part of it too is like if you ask Josh Heupel directly, like, hey, what's Derek Owings been up to? How's that been? Of course, he's going to be like, yeah, my hire was fantastic and it's going just as planned. But if you talk to players, you don't have to bring up the name Derek Owings or talk about like you used, hey, what's this offseason been like? And they're all like, man, you wouldn't believe what Derek Owings has us doing. So for them to kind of bring it up unprompted and then to have that backed up, like seeing a guy like David Sanders, who you forget came in last year, was like, man, is he going to be big enough to play as a true freshman last year? Like he's plenty big enough now. Like he looks like an SEC left tackle that's going to be able to move some guys around this year. So I just think between us kind of seeing it with our own eyes at fall camp, between that and hearing them talk about it when you talk to them in these press conferences, like, yeah, it seems like it's certainly going to make an impact. And then it's a thing too, you just got to see what it looks like towards the end of the year. Because that's kind of Derek Owens' philosophy is it's great to be in peak shape now, but what is it going to look like when you're in October, November? That'll be curious to kind of follow along throughout the season as well.
And again, that's a big reason why you make this move. Every college strength coach is working hard and doing what they think is right, and putting muscle on guys and doing their best to prevent injury. I mean, football is a contact sport. Injuries are going to happen, but you train the correct way and you strengthen muscle groups the correct way, you can prevent some of these soft tissues. You can prevent some of these injuries as the season goes along. Not all of them. Again, you're not going to prevent a torn ACL. I'm not trying to say that, but that's a big part of it. And look at the way that Tennessee finished the season last year. The month of November was awful. Look at how Tennessee couldn't finish games last year at points in times. Alabama, Georgia, of course, some other games that come, Illinois in the Music City Bowl. I think this hire, you hope that this hire is going to make a difference in those regards for sure. Faizon Brandon, Deshaun Bishop, Nathan Robinson, Javon Gordon, there's others. Those are the ones that I'm just like, Jeremiah T. Leonard, I'm like, God, like, look at these guys. They look great. Anybody else from the eye test that you can tell has just really gotten the best of Derek Owens has gotten the best of this player over the offseason?
I think one of the most dramatic changes might be Christian Gass, who's going to have to play a role this year at Leo. And that's partially because he was injured last year. And so he wasn't able to, kind of hit it like all the other freshmen and really start to build their body to what it needed to be on the defensive line. But he seems like he really took advantage of it. He's up like 30, 40. Like, it's the weight change from when he got to campus and then from even after last season going into spring until now is pretty dramatic. And he talked about it the other day too, about the exact numbers of it. It's truly jaw-dropping. So I think he's a guy that's also a great sign, because like we said, without Chaz Coleman, who's not going to be on this team, you need some other younger Leos to step up and play a role. Christian Gass is one of those guys. They're going to expect to do that. And for him to put on this much weight and still be moving well and feeling good, I think that's also a huge sign for Tennessee.
You bring Christian Gass up, and like, I never mention him on the show. Like, people, everydayers are probably hearing right now, like, who's that guy? Kaner never mentions him. And like, I loved his recruitment. Like, he was one of my favorite guys to cover in recruiting. He was a guy that could play, the two-back linebacker, in the middle layer of the defense, come off the edge, and that's kind of where Tennessee liked him. But he was brought in to be a Leo in the old defense, and we know that, Jim Knowles likes bigger defensive ends, and he was already on the smaller end, and he was hurt a lot last year. So, I think he would have played more, but he was hurt and limited last year. And so he's kind of the forgotten man. And he was also the only Leo that stayed, that didn't transfer out. But the fact that he was still so, I don't want to say little, that's not true. He was not where he needed to be weight-wise. So light, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah. I've never really put him in the conversation in terms of defensive end this year. But you're right. He's been one of the biggest gainers. And, between him, like, we know Marion Dye, Tyree Weathersby, Jordan Norman. Those are the three. I think David Hobbs will bump out and play some end as well at points in times if they can stay healthy in the interior. Because, again, I think he's technically, I think he's built to play end in this defense, but he's got to play tackle. Like, who's that next end? Like, who's that next wave of ends? Kedrick Golston, a true freshman, I think is the guy that is going to help Tennessee. I put Carson Gentle in there because, again, he's a guy that has been here a lot of time. He's been here a couple of years. He has transformed his body. Rodney Gardner likes Carson Gentle. Can he be in position to give you some snaps? But he's wearing a red non-contact jersey right now. By process of elimination, I guess Christian Gass is kind of next. Like, they don't have the numbers at end. So, like you said, I'm intrigued about Christian Gass. Potentially, he can carve out a role where he's playing 15 snaps a game. Yeah,
because it is him who's, I guess, a sophomore now, but would be a redshirt freshman by the old perspective. And then a bunch of other freshmen. Hezekiah Harris is someone that people have talked about. You look at Breeze Carter and Carter Gooden, and those are guys that might have to step up. And then I think also you look at, you have that deep linebacker room. Can you play with some numbers and go to a 3-3? Like you said, can you bump out one of those defensive tackles like David Hobbs, who, has plenty of experience coming off the edge as well, going back to his high school days. So can he bump out and play defensive end when you need him to? They have options to try to cover up some of those kind of edge rushing roles. But if Christian Gass can come in and play well, if some of those true freshmen come in and play well instantly, it definitely makes life a lot easier when you can kind of stick to your base a little bit more.
I think, the defensive line is, obviously quarterback, tons of questions. Everybody's got questions, just the unknowns. But, if you put that aside and you look at, I was at a wedding over the weekend and somebody was like, man, you can't do this, I get it. But if you just put the quarterback aside, like, Tennessee's good in almost every position. Like, you feel good about every position. You feel so much better about the secondary. Depth is a question. You feel great about linebacker, even with the injuries and Arion Carter's suspension for 2 games. Running back feel good. Tight end, you feel better. Wide receivers, you feel good. Offensive line, you feel great. Like, defensive line's where I have the most questions. Pass rush is where I had the most questions. And I completely agree. I think that you'll utilize in personnel packages, down in distance. Like, Arion Carter is not a defensive end. But will Arion Carter be used to go off the edge some? Yeah, because he's got great burst. He's got great athleticism. And you can utilize that. And you can be solid at linebacker with Campbell, Spillman, Thielander, whoever. I have so many questions about the defensive line. And I like where they are at defensive tackle. I think the key for this entire defensive line, to be honest with you, is Hobbs and Robinson have got to stay healthy. 2 guys that have never stayed healthy. Durability issues, and I'm not meaning that as an insult, but it just kind of is what it is. If they can stay healthy, frees up Hobbs to bump outside sometimes. You've got obviously Gilliam in there as well. J.J. Finch is a guy that I think can help. Ethan Utley, Isaiah Campbell. Like, if you're struggling in the interior and you already have questions about the exterior, man, I just don't feel good about that defensive line. But if those 2 guys can stay healthy, I feel so much better because they can play. I feel so much better about the defensive line than I did, back in the spring.
I think that's fair. Like, you look at what Tennessee has on the interior between Xavier Gilliam, Nathan Robinson, David Hobbs. I think those are 3 starting caliber guys on the interior that you're really confident about. Behind them, when you name some of those freshmen, and then you have the second-year guys, Isaiah Campbell and Ethan Utley, I'm fine with that in your 2 deep and maybe leaking into your 3 deep. If one of them has to step in for an injury and play a bunch of snaps and they're your starter and they're playing the majority in that rotation, that's when it's like, okay, they're capable of it. They're certainly talented enough to step up and play well. But I think you'd feel a lot more comfortable if you have a healthy David Hobbs, a healthy Nathan Robinson, who just have had a bad kind of bill of luck with injuries. If they can stay healthy, yeah, I think it just gives you a bunch of options. That's what you need up front right now. Because like you said, a lot of this team, just keeping it from a defensive perspective, obviously we all know the linebacker room's just stupidly stacked, but even the secondary feels pretty retooled. Even without Richard, you're not going to have him. You look at some of the young guys like a Trey Poteet, who I mentioned earlier, they seem like they could play a good role off the bench this year behind a Ty Redmond and Cain Lee. You look at the star position, Quay Moss was a huge pickup. You look at safety and you have 3 options there between Idris and Lane and Metcalf that you feel really confident in. So you have options in the secondary to rotate. You have options at linebacker to rotate. It is just that defensive line. Like, what is that going to look like, especially if a guy or 2 go down? That I agree. If you need a spot on this team to stay healthy besides like the obvious quarterback position or whatever it is, defensive line's probably it.
About 10 minutes in, and we've not even talked about quarterbacks. Job well done, Eric. Thank you. I did my job there, or maybe I didn't do my job there. What does Ryan Sylvia think about the Tennessee quarterbacks? And again, what do we know so far? What do we hope to know here in week 2? We'll talk Faizon Brandon. I said Ryan Sylvia. We're not going to talk you. We'll talk Faizon Brandon. We'll talk George MacIntyre coming up next right here with Ryan Sylvia of Rocky Top Insider. Let me tell you about Poncho. If you're like me and you basically live in game day gear during football season, you're going to want to check out Poncho's new game day collection. It's one of those things where it's a performance shirt, but it doesn't look like a performance shirt. It looks clean, sharp, and something you'd actually want to wear all day long. Plus, you get to rep the Tennessee Volunteers in style, just like I am right here. Look at this shirt. It's beautiful. And the best part about it is it's built for real life, super lightweight. I can attest it is so lightweight. It feels great, very breathable, and comfortable enough that you can show it off and wear it for a tailgate, or you can wear it sitting in the stadium, just hanging out with friends, watching the game with family and friends. You never feel like you have to change, though. And what I really like about it is you're not stuck in a one-size-fits-all situation either. You can dial in with the fit with the regular, slim, tall, plus short or long sleeve. This is the short sleeve right here, and it feels so great. And if you grab your team shirt between August 2nd and August 16th, you're covered by Poncho's Natty Bag Guarantee. What that means is if your team wins the national championship, Poncho will give you a full refund on your purchase, plus you get to keep the shirt. Not bad, right? Not bad at all. Go to ponchooutdoors.com/lockedon and enter your email to get $10 off and free shipping on your first order. That's Poncho, Poncho, outdoors.com/lockedon. Head there, drop in your email, and you're going to get $10 off and free shipping. And once you try one, you'll get why I've got a whole closet full of them. That is Poncho. Big thanks to our friends at Poncho for sure. All right, since 1986... The game has been creating classic college football hats, college hats really in general, that fans can proudly wear. Whether you're an alumnus, current student, season ticket holder, or simply someone who never misses a game, a great college hat is more than just apparel. It's a way to represent your school wherever you go. This year, the game is celebrating its 40th anniversary by giving fans a chance to save on some of their most iconic college hats. If you've been thinking about replacing an old favorite or adding a new one to your collection, now is the perfect time. Look at these bad boys. All right. You got a black Tennessee hat here. Vols across the front, University of Tennessee. You got the game little patch here in the bottom. Very adjustable. Feels great on your head. Not super heavy. That's the black one I have right here. Here's the orange one. Look how beautiful that looks. A little orange power T here in the back. Yep. Fantastic stuff. Oh, this one had a black power T or an orange power T on the black hat here in the back. I love these. I wore them last football season. I'm going to wear them this football season as well, and you can too, and you're going to get a great deal if you want to wear it, right? With hundreds of official licensed college hats to choose from, you'll find the perfect fit for game day and every day. Don't miss a chance to celebrate 40 years with the game with 40% off your entire order. Not bad. Visit thegamecaps.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That is thegamecaps.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. Celebrate 40 years of the game with 40% off, but don't wait. The anniversary offer is not going to last forever, so go ahead and check that out today. All right, Ryan. So again, we've seen parts of 3 practices. Practice number 1, when they were in helmets, we saw 6 periods. A little bit of extended routes on air session, which was good to see, I guess. Practice number 2, we saw 4 periods, a little bit of routes on air. Practice number 3 on Saturday, the viewing period was like 11 minutes, and it was just not worth waking up and going over there for, to be honest. Your thoughts on what you've seen so far from both George MacIntyre, Faizon Brandon, knowing that we don't see a lot, and even you're not even hearing a lot because again, the pads aren't on. You're not doing a ton of 11 on 11, but that's about to change this week.
It's tough to get a real view on it past what we already knew, I guess, going into it. I guess it's kind of confirmed for me the thought process of Faizon is probably the lower floor, higher ceiling guy of the two, and George MacIntyre is the higher floor but lower ceiling guy. So that begs the question: how much do you prioritize this season if things not going off the rails if things go wrong this season? Because to me, you're picking this battle not just for the 2026 season, but obviously you're picking it for 27 and maybe 28 and maybe 20. Like, this is a long-term pick given their eligibility statuses. So to me, I think it makes the most sense to go with Faizon, who's the 5-star, who's got what appears to be the higher ceiling, and floor talk can get pretty silly at times. But I think just watching them essentially throw to coaches and throw under simulated pressure, and then that little routes on air session we did get to see, you could see the zip on the ball from Faizon. TK Keys talks about you can hear it kind of humming as it comes, and there seems to be a lot of excitement about the physical tools he has. But then you also saw in that first practice, maybe in some routes on air, Faizon leaves one high and it sails, or maybe he leaves one a little low and it sails. So I think if Faizon is the starter, there's going to be a few throws that, man, that's frustrating, but you can kind of chalk it up to a freshman mistake. And you have to give the same grace to George MacIntyre, but he just seems a little more polished, I guess, at this time going into his second college year than the true freshman Faizon. But when Faizon's on, I mean, you saw it at Tennessee posted, I think it was last night, a little highlight video of them at practice. It was just a beautiful deep ball from Faizon Brandon. It's a beautiful ball that he can throw. So I think there's a lot of excitement about what he can bring. I was on the Faizon train heading into spring camp as well. So I'll stay on that so far. I don't think there's any reason to hop off.
You said a little silly, talking about ceilings and floors and all that. Let's try this on for silly here. Like I not a quarterback coach, not a football coach at all. Okay. But one of my big takeaways from spring was, and again, this is not an insult. This is not a criticism. Like he'd been on campus for like a month. Like he was brand new. But one of my big takeaways from Faizon was like mechanically his footwork, I felt like needed some work, and like George was so mechanically sound and his footwork was clean and that's expected. He's been doing it for over a year. And when he came back to fall camp, I looked specifically at the feet. I looked specifically at the footwork and the steps and all that. And man, he's been working on it, honestly, because he's been repping it every single day, every single day. The footwork still got a little ways to go. And I'm sure the coaching staff would say that George MacIntyre does as well. Yeah. But it is significantly improved. And so like for Faizon specifically, he came in day 1 of spring, number 2 in this order, if you will, because again, he just got there. He left spring even Stevens, if not maybe leading, according to some people, spring it with George MacIntyre. And so he made up that much ground in that short amount of time. Mechanically, he's making up ground. Like, there's reason to believe. Everybody's like, why are you saying Faizon? Why are you saying Faizon? Because the way that he's improving in every aspect of the quarterbacking, like, if he continues, then yeah, it seems like there's no reason that he wouldn't be Tennessee's starting quarterback. But the scrimmages, first one coming up on Saturday, second one a week from that Saturday, that's going to tell us everything. And I'm not going to ask you, like, what are you expecting in the scrimmage or whatever, but, like, I do think that we're going to get some actual quarterback talk this week and certainly after Saturday, and we can kind of learn, like, okay, well, if the season started the day, this quarterback would probably be the one that goes, or they both got a lot of work to do, but, this one shined a little bit more in a couple series on Saturday. Like, this is when we're going to start, I call it moving day after scrimmage number one. It's like, okay, you can kind of see the picture now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at last year with Joey Aguilar, and after the first scrimmage, it was like, okay, like what they wanted to see, it seems like they saw, let's see what happens in the second scrimmage, and then a day or two after the second scrimmage, it was like, all right, this is Joey Aguilar's offense. So they do value that. I mean, you value what you see when they're throwing routes on air. You value what you see when they're doing these kind of fake scrimmages, not the full inside Neyland scrimmage, but the scrimmage, the 11-on-11 or 7-on-7 stuff they do on the practice field. But when it's the full kind of the lights are on to a certain extent in Neyland Stadium and you're getting those actual scrimmage reps in, that's what's probably going to decide this. If one of them goes out and just looks way better than the other, like that's kind of the death blow as far as that's who's going to decide it. So yeah, I'm fully expecting if you're going to name a starting quarterback before week one, which I think they will. I don't think they'll go into week one with the, hey, let's see what happens against Furman and split the reps. So assuming they do name one, it'll probably be right after that second scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And then you give yourself the opportunity to get that guy, the first team reps throughout the rest of practice, the practices as well. So the scrimmages are going to what decide it. As far as the fundamentals and the technique and the mechanics too, that's like, coaches have different preferences. You go to one school and they're going to tell you to do one thing, you go to the other, they're going to tell you to do another. So like that's even something you saw with Joey Aguilar last year when he came in. It was like, hey, you got to fix this and this and this because this is how we want to do it at Tennessee. So that's no surprise at all. And as you said too, I think George MacIntyre, if you talk to the coaches, they'd be like, yeah, he's got this to polish up. Faizon's got this to polish up. Ryan Staub, who's been doing it for 4 years, he has this to polish up. But what you're saying, I totally agree with as far as Faizon has taken a dramatic step to looking a lot better from when we first saw him in the spring till now.
I'll be interested to see what we hear coming out of scrimmage number one. Obviously, anybody, that's all they want to know about is the quarterbacks. Out the door here, Ryan, anything else from only other big takeaway I have from week one, and it's not a criticism at all, but football is a contact sport. There's been a couple of injuries. One happened actually before camp, and Richard, that's going to be out for the year. Jaden Harmon happened on Saturday towards ACL, is going to be out for the year. Ethan Davis has missed the last couple of practices, nothing long-term. Ty Redmond is not injured, but he's sick right now. Nothing long-term there. But that's really the only other takeaway. There's a couple of guys that have not been out there. And, again, I said this about Arion Carter's suspension. Like, if it's going to happen to one position group, this is the one to happen to. You still don't want to see anybody miss the year, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I think, of course, I'm not saying you want Jaden Harmon to get injured, but if you had to lose a guy to the season – again, that linebacker room is so deep that would probably be, if you had to pick a position, that'd probably be the position that
I'm more concerned about the corner for sure. Like, not because I think Trey Poteet was the third corner anyway, but still, like, Richard's a guy that's played a lot in the past, and he was a guy that could spell,
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, I think after last year, you're kind of saying, okay, well, at least it's not the Jermod McCoy level talent over at corner, any other position. So there's going to always be injuries. Like you said, the Ethan Davis deal seems like it's more precautionary than anything as far as let's not make this thing worse a little less than a month out from the season. Let's make sure he's good to go because you know what Ethan Davis is. You know the impact he can have. Ty Redmond, like you said, too, non-injury, but I think probably a similar mindset of, he can be really good. He's proven it. So let's not, if he's not feeling 100% from an illness standpoint, let's not rush him back either. So overall, there's always going to be injuries. Could it be worse? Sure. It was worse last year when you lost Jermod McCoy for the entire season going into things, and then you lost Ricky Gibson like 2 snaps into the year. So we'll see how it unfolds. We'll see how it unfolds in that Furman game, that Georgia Tech game, because once the season actually starts, then it really starts to kind of pile up. It can. But I guess, that'd be the other takeaway is just some of those injuries, but could be worse, I would say.
Yep. Always can be worse, and it's really not horrible right now. So baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think's going to hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on the matchups across the league. Every game has something, or every game has someone that's capable of going deep at any moment. Now you get a chance to make your prediction before first pitch. Sometimes it's a hitter who's been on a hot streak, right? Or a favorable pitching matchup, or even ballparks that tends to give up home runs like short porches and right field. Those are always the first things I look for before making my daily dingers pick. So, are you ready to play the game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a home run. Play ball and swing for the fences with FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. Was awesome getting to catch up with Ryan Sylvia of RTI for segments 1 and 2, so I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Does a great job covering all things Tennessee for Rocky Top Insider. Great to just talk ball, talk camp with some people who are there, so it's not just me saying everything that I see in my opinions. I want you guys to hear from other people as well, because sometimes my opinions are not correct, or sometimes what I see is not what somebody else sees. So enjoy bringing Ryan Sylvia on to the show. So let's get into the mailbag edition of the podcast here this morning. We do it every single Tuesday, and we'll do it throughout the football season, the offseason, everything. Any questions, comments, concerns, you guys can send those for the mailbag edition of the show. Keep sending them in as well, because later in the week sometimes I might do a bonus segment, or if I get enough, maybe I'll do a bonus show. So always send those in at _Cain or at Locked On Balls. I'll bookmark them. I'll check them. I'll try to save them as much as I can. Of course, you can comment on this YouTube episode as well if you have any mailbag questions. We will start with Vol in Ireland. What's up, my man? Appreciate you listening as always. Eric, do you think who do you think will have a breakout Vol this season? Who do you think will be the breakout Vol this season? It's a good question. It needs to be. I mean, I hate to see that continue to sing a similar tune than what I was just doing with Brian. It needs to be David Hobbs, man. Like, he's played, he's been here. But, like, he needs a good year. This is a contract year for him. Same as Ethan Davis. Like, he's been here. Like, this is his 4th year in the system, but, like, he's yet to break out. Like, those two guys need that for Tennessee. Tennessee needs it from those two guys. Specifically, Hobbs on the defensive line is kind of where I'll go with that, because, man, if you can get some great production from Hobbs on the defensive line, then you feel much better about where you are at defensive tackle, of course, but you also feel better about defensive end because he can bump out and play there, and he's going to create some maybe double teams to open up some things on the edge, the exterior for somebody to rush the quarterback. It just helps everybody down the line. It really, really does. So I'll go with Hobbs on defense and Ethan Davis on offense, though I recognize those guys have been here for quite some time, so it's not like it's not like those are new guys. Let's go to Adam. What position groups is the best, and which ones could use some help? Position groups that are the best. Offensive line. I like wide receivers. Linebackers on defense. I would start with those 3, and then I think 4th would be running back, which could use some help. Defensive line, just because I have a lot of questions, tons of questions about the defensive line. And honestly, probably secondary just from a depth perspective. I really like the frontline guys that they have, but I've got questions about the depth in the secondary. And I know a lot of teams do as well. Adam, appreciate you, my guy. Thanks so much for listening. Jared, in Keys' interview, he revealed that he wanted to grow more in his knowledge of the game. I took that to mean that he isn't likely, that he likely doesn't understand college defenses enough. Is that a stretch to believe that he's admitting he's not ready yet, and or that Rodarius Jackson or Travis Smith will start? Okay, so I'll focus on the last sentence there. Is it a stretch to believe that he's admitting he's not ready and or that Jackson or Smith will start? Yes, I think that is a stretch. I think that, to answer your question, I think that is a stretch. What I think, and I'm sure you think this too, right? But I think as a young freshman who has yet to play in a college football game yet, he's got a lot to learn. He's got a ton to learn. Even guys who are sophomores, juniors, even seniors, like there's still so much about the game of football, the nuances that you don't understand, or you don't take an interest in learning. And that sounds bad. I don't mean like that. I mean, like, as a football player, you want to focus on your job, your team, your leadership qualities. You want to focus that you're doing everything you can so that your football team can be the best that it can be. But there's other areas of the football game that you can learn so you can grow as a player. And I think that's what he's trying to say. Like, I mean, again, he's not played a football game yet. So there's so much about coverages. There's so much about defensive coordinators and what they'll do in the back end to disguise coverages. There's so much about, like, okay, well, we're running here and my alignment's here. Like, I don't get that. Why is my alignment here? Well, it's to help the other guy on the other side of the ball, or it's to draw the eyes of the star player your way in order to open up a seam of the middle that you can throw to the tight end. Just little stuff like that. So, no, I think it is a stretch what you said there. And I think that's just him saying, hey, I'm young and I got a lot to learn. I got a ton to learn. I think that's all that was right there. Jared, appreciate you, dude. How's that pass rush going to be? Is Nathan Robinson going to be a unit this year or what? I am high on Nathan Robinson. I think that he is going to be a stud. He needs to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy, but I'm high on Nathan Robinson. How's the pass rush going to be? I honestly don't know. I don't know. I mean, Jim Knowles the other day, let's see if I still have the clip. Jim Knowles the other day opened it up with, time will tell. Time will tell. Here it is right here. I won't play the entire clip. This is Jim Knowles.
Time will tell, right? Time will tell.
I mean, time will tell. I don't know. I have so much questions about the pass rush. I honestly do. I hope so. How many yards does Staub throw this year after winning the QB competition? Winky face. I see what you're doing there. Yeah, I would be shocked. I think that he'll have some passing yards, but it'll be as the third-string quarterback. Manny, what two freshmen on both sides of the ball do you see making a big impact this season? Offensively, I'll go Faizon, quarterback, and TK Keys at wide receiver. On defense, I'll go Kedrick Golston, defensive end, JJ Finch, defensive tackle. But there's a number of areas we could go defensively, because I think some of those freshman DBs will get some run as well, at least like in terms of depth purposes, right? I'm not saying they'll be starters, but like I could see some freshman DBs being some backups, maybe a backup corner, maybe that fourth corner. Will Spillman or T-Lander get the start with Carter's absence? Honestly, I don't think it matters because they're both going to play a ton. Right now, I would guess T-Lander, but again, that's a guess right now. So we'll see which one it is, but I would guess T-Lander. But they're both going to play. They'll both play for sure. No one ever asked you about you. How are you doing? What are you most excited about this season? If you had to pick one thing, I think mine is seeing the DO effect. We've been talking a lot about the DO effect. Webb, I appreciate it, man. I am good. I am blessed. I am thankful to be doing this job. One thing I'm looking forward to is Tennessee winning a game that nobody thinks that they're going to win, and everybody's like, oh, Tennessee's better than I thought. And I'm like, yeah, we've been saying that all offseason. Like, this is a good football team. So maybe that's petty, but I'm ready for that. I'm ready to see quarterback play. I'm like everybody else. I think it could be good. I think that potentially it could be bad based on circumstances or if things don't go your way. But I'm ready to see it. I think it's going to be better than anybody thinks it's going to be. So that's what I got there. Got a couple more. We'll do rapid fire here. I'm running behind. Do you see a situation where the second outside receiver is like a rotating door between Ra, TK, and Travis Smith, kind of like how our running backs operated last season, where a new wide receiver will come in each drive? I wouldn't hate that, especially if no one's kind of taken that job, but based on history in this offense, based on how Kelsey Pope and Cody Burns and Joey Halsley and Josh Heupel, I mean, they've never really done that. They've kind of settled on three, and that's been it. But I wouldn't hate that. And maybe now that you have a 5-star freshman, if he doesn't win the job, maybe that's what you got to do to keep him like, hey, here in December so he doesn't leave. So, we'll see, but I'd be surprised. I need to hear something about Marion Dye, Utley, and Campbell all taking steps forward for how highly those guys were rated. Our D-line should be nasty, but yet I've not heard great things about the D-line yet. Yeah, and hopefully that'll come this week once they get into full pads. Really hard to talk about the trench play, offensive line and defensive line, before they really hit the pads on. Maybe this is obvious, but is it for sure that David Sanders is starting left tackle? Also, do you think we know QB1 when the depth chart comes out, or will it say Faizon Brandon or G-Mac? Since the first depth chart will be that Monday of game week, I think a starting quarterback announcement will have already been made, so I think that you'll drop the or. And to the first part of your question, is it for sure that David Sanders is our starting left tackle? 1,000,000 kajillion quadrillion % of healthy. Yes, it is 100% sure, 100% happening that David Sanders is the left tackle if healthy. And, you hope that is the case all season long. All right, went a little long today. Do apologize for that. Big thanks to Ryan Sylvia for stopping by the show here and bringing us some of his camp thoughts. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll continue to talk Tennessee football camp. What did Tennessee look like on the practice field for practice number 4? All that and more right here on Locked On Vols. Can't thank you guys enough. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everybody. This is Locked On Vols.